one of the more compelling voices of the later Renaissance is Veronica Franco. She was a very strong poet, writing in Italian, Venetian, but with a great respect for the normally rival city of and tradition of Tuscany. Tuscany isn't a city, but a very vibrant voice within the world of letters at the time. She's also notable, I would say, as a feminist persona, simply because of the degree to which she engaged in the fight. And she was unapologetic in her expression of anger and rage, not only in demanding recognition as a poet, as she saw the men around her being so lauded, and which was often that celebration was often quite skimpy for women, but also, she was willing to go to literally fight for what she wanted, and that was it's pretty entertaining to watch. The the biographical details, always, of course, a little sketchy. She was educated, she was upper class, and she is usually identified as a courtesan, an intellectual distinction necessarily, in that she partook of court life, uh, meaning she ran a salon of intellectuals and writers and artists who would uh, gather around her and debate and express ideas and what have you. Of course, rumors are going to attach to that word courtesan, and it does carry a connotation in many respects of a prostitute or perhaps a procuress. It is a it's a common slander for women who did not stay in their lane. It is notable also that at one point she was accused of witchcraft, another common slander for women who wouldn't stay in their lane. Of course, the witchcraft was never quite proven, and so that people are willing to put that one behind her. But the courtesan asterisk next to her name has been debated for centuries now. You make of it what you will. I don't particularly care. The work that we have from her is not a terrific amount, but it is significant. And again, you look for the vibrancy of the voice more than the breadth of the output. And primarily, what we have from her is a work of multiple chapters of verse, where some chapters she would get from other poets, other men poets, who would write about her, which is very nice. And then she would intersperse these with chapters of her own writing. And in that, you get a lot of back and forth. And what we have most explicitly from her is one chapter where she responds to a fellow poet who had slighted her, perhaps a bit in public. Of course, this is the age of dueling, largely verbally and physically, where if you felt that your public integrity had been impugned, you would challenge someone, and it's usually diffused. Apologies get expressed, and it's very diplomatic, but sometimes not. And in her case, on a verbal level at least, she shows a great willingness to, go for the jugular. Not quite literally, but there's always that question. She is operating within the figurative realm, but she's willing to explore that a little bit more. And it's actually in that this chapter, I feel, takes off. Her willingness to explore the whole nature of anger and the whole nature of um, hostility, and make it not just something that's purely negative about, well, you said nasty things about me, but to explore what it can do and what it can turn into. And it's fun to watch somebody with such an active mind, such a ready command of language, and see them get in and deal honestly with themselves, and knock down a few bodies along the way. What we have is capítulo 13. It's Capítulo's chapter. She offers a challenge to a lover who has offended her. People were always talking smack about each other. She takes it on quite directly. Now, what she does then is really quite quick, which in the English translation, the stridency of it, the vigor of it really comes across. No more words, to deeds, to the battlefield, to arms. For resolve to die, I want to free myself from such merciless mistreatment. That's very in your face. That is a fairly decent translation of the original Italian, which is it is equally punchy. Non più parole ai fatti in campo allarmi, ch'io voglio risoluto di morire da si grave molestia libertarmi. You know? Frustration, anger comes through. That voice is very strident, is very powerful. Should I call this a challenge? I do not know, since I am responding to a provocation, but why should we duel over words? So automatically she is, leading to that threat that, we're just playing with words here, but it can go a step further if you want. She's taunting her rival in this respect. If you like, I will say that you've challenged me. If not, I challenge you. Right there, she is questioning his manhood, so to speak. If you would like, if you don't want to take credit for this, if you don't want to be blamed, fine. I take it all on myself. This is not the docile, quiet little female figure. This is somebody who's not afraid to get in your face. And that is, fun to watch. That's really vibrant. It's not the perfect, ideal Renaissance, woman inherited from the Middle Ages of being so, removed and docile, so idealistic. She is not afraid to get angry. She is reveling in her own emotion here, and that's that's fun to watch. I'll take any route, and any opportunity suits me equally well. Yeah, fine, I'll do whatever you want. But it's not passivity. It's I'll do anything for the fight. Yours be the choice or place of arms, and I will make whatever choice remains. Rather, let both be your decision. And here you get into a little bit of the gender dynamics of it, because she is arguing for the leftover power, for the table scraps of authority, saying, all right, men get to make all the decisions in everything else, so even in this, our fight, you can make all the decisions, I'll take whatever's left over. And the fact that that's coming, again, so clearly at the beginning of the poem, that's, not a short one. She is putting that on the table, that, authority to even make the fight, the ability to even raise the issue, to be the agent of the dispute, I'll see that right away, which of course is an expression of power of sorts. It's the only power that she has is to give away power or to grant power, but she's still exercising it in whatever way she can. And the fact that she's doing it so explicitly at the beginning of the poem is notable, I think. At once I am sure you will realize how ungrateful and faithless you have been and how wrongfully you have betrayed me, which of course is the argument that people might make of her. So ungrateful, well, we allow you to write. We, the poetic establishment of Venice in the 1500s, the largely male poetic establishment in the 1500s, we grant you this. You should be grateful. We let you write. We tell you you are good. You should be grateful to us for allowing you that. But here she is turning the table. She is flipping that and say, and unless my rage yields, wow. That is coining the word right there. Saying explicitly what the issue is here, her rage. The deceiving tongue that lies to do me harm, I will tear out by its root, after it's been bitten against the palate with repentant teeth. Wow, that's powerful. That's strong. That's really interesting too. The physicality of it. She's not afraid to go there. The emphasis on teeth. It's almost like she's reveling in her animal nature there, because animals are, teeth can be seen as a metonym of animal nature, because all animals chew, or at least bite, and she's not afraid to do that. And if this brings no relief to my life, abandoning all hope, I will rejoice at having turned to bloodshed for my revenge. And that little phrase right there, abandoning all hope, always leads me to think of the opening lines of Dante, whom she is clearly taking as a model here. Abandoning all hope is, abandon all hope, ye who enter here, is the famous sign over the gate to hell in the opening line of the third book of the third book of the Inferno. And here, it's important to recognize that predecessor of Dante, because she is writing in terza rima, the three-line poem that is, or the three-line rhyme scheme that is so powerful in Dante. Non più parole affatti in campo allarmi, ch'io voglio resoluta de morire, da si grave molestia liberarmi. Armi ends each of the first and third lines. The middle one ends with morire, which of course picks up with the second three-line stanza. Non so se il mio cartel si debba dire. Dire, venire, gets matched in the one line after, or in the two lines after, where you have provocata in the middle line, and of course that atta sound picks up with the next rhyme. So you always got the seeding of the next rhyme. It's an enormously complicated and difficult rhyme scheme to maintain. Dante does it over, how many lines, but she is keeping it up here, and it's very vigorous, it's very punchy, it's very intricate. She is very carefully working within a very tight format. You can't break that three-line scheme, which is so complicated. But still, she's taking all of this supposed rage and fury and animal emotionalism and squeezing it through a venue like Terza Rima, which is remarkably powerful. So you get a sense of, enormous passion, but also very elaborate or very tight control, which just leads to great tension as you're reading along. And that's hard to get in a translation because it's such a difficult rhyme scheme. But that sense of tight control on ungovernable passions is so vibrant. Then with the same, I will rejoice at having turned to bloodshed for my revenge. Then with the same knife, my own breast, satisfied and appeasing by slaying you, I may cut open, regretting my deed. Which is rage and regret all at the same time. And again, anybody who has ever felt overlooked, oppressed, ignored, can understand that you feel rage at these slights, but you know that if you act out against it, there's going to be some regret because so often those sorts of emotions do not lead to productive consequences. And so you do something rash or do something outlandish and you regret that. And she is caught in that double bind here that everybody who's ever felt angry or, again, ignored or oppressed, they know that feeling. Um, she she revels in her warrior status, challenging this guy, taunting him by his manhood. She demands agency. Here before me now stands the bed where I took you in my arms. Interesting couching. I took you in my arms. It wasn't, where we went to bed or where you swept me off my feet or anything like that. She demands the agency there. She is the subject of that sentence. I took you in my arms. On a linguistic level, she demands recognition of being the one in charge, the one responsible, the one with the power. And which still preserves the imprint of our bodies breast to breast. We're getting very intimate here. She feels quite scorned at this point as a former lover, and he has not only slighted her as a poet supposedly, but has been, talking some smack about her out of, after being intimate. And you can see how this is like, hitting her on multiple levels. Whatever weapon you hand over to me, I will gladly take. Again, granting him the illusion of some power, but still, she is granting it. So there is some power there. There is that sense of the power dynamics throughout. Let all armor be stripped from your naked breast, so that, unshielded and exposed to blows, it may reveal the valor it harbors within. The sense of the difference in appearances is right there. Obviously, dress is always so important. The judgments of dress and the role of the warrior. She is saying that he should be stripped of all of the accoutrement of warrior status to just see who he is underneath it all, because she, without ever having been able to wear that stuff, feels herself already more of a warrior than he is. And she is demanding that recognition, the ability to fight, the right to fight. It starts to heat up over the course of a few lines here, and you get a sense of it's transforming somehow. It's evolving somehow as it gets more heated. You get some references to specifically to blood. If they can find no road to peace, they may sate their thirst for each other's blood. Strong word there, but also, it has some other resonance. This is the style in which I like to fight, in this manner fulfills and satisfies my desire for bitter revenge. Significant reference of style there. Although I hope, without any doubt, to spill a river of your blood. So again, that repetition of blood, just as an image, comes back, but it's increased. Now it's not just a little bit of blood, like a thirst for someone's blood, but now a river of blood, and that's significant. The the heat is turning up. The passions are becoming much more explicit, and there's a sense that it's transforming. It is developing into something else. Perhaps, what if, all weapons laid aside, you took the path open to a love match in bed? Whoa, where did that come from? It's suddenly getting a little bit, taunting on a sexual realm. Must I continue to battle against you, since whoever refuses pardon when asked wends his erring ways, reputed a coward? When you finally came to this point with me, I'd not, perhaps, depart from what is decent and proper to do, which is a very coy thing there. It's if you were to suddenly, lay down your arms, we could maybe lay down more than our arms. Perhaps I would even follow you to bed. It's becoming quite sexual at this point, explicitly. It's seductive, and you see that turn on a dime from the threat of violence to the expression of passion in another realm. Uh, and stretched out there in skirmishes with you, I would yield to you in no way at all. Again, that power struggle, that demand for recognition, that demand for dominance, that demand for her own identity and her desire and her right to desire and to act or the right to act. I would die with you, felled by the same blow, which, the little note says, die with you could be a sense of, sexual climax, perhaps simultaneous. But still, that sense of, as it's building, you get to that line, and oh my God, is that what they were talking about all along? I don't know. Maybe they were talking about both simultaneously and it just found expression in the one way. Sometimes that's what happens, but when you start down that road of passion, you never quite know where it's going to end up. But hold firm, my strong, undaunted heart, and with that felon's final destruction, avenge your 1,000 deaths with this one, then end your agony with the same blade. So the passion has completely taken over, but it has found expression in a parallel form. And you feel the poet suspended between these two poles of uh, passion for violence, passion for not violence, and you feel also like there is no other way. In the meantime, it is all within this very tight format of this very vigorous and tightly controlled rhyme scheme that gives a sense of there is some reason in there. There is an understanding of what is going on, even though it cannot be controlled. This voice, this woman, is saying that you let passion go and it can take unknown turns, and passion itself cannot be contained. But there's the consciousness of that, there's the awareness of that, and in that we are all, of course, in a double bind, because when we let our passions go, which we sometimes cannot help but do, there are unforeseen consequences. There's fallout. And I don't know if she's arguing against it. I don't know if it's a statement saying that, well, we can't help it, but there is a recognition that as human beings, we have passions, and sometimes they get the better of us, and we're caught in that. And that's where I think the real greatness of her voice lies, because she is offering this perspective as a woman, as a very vibrant and passionate woman, but one with the intellectual capacity and control to recognize both the danger of that, the inevitability of that, the consequences of that, and the need for that. And all of those things are pulling at her at all times and making life torturous and joyous at the same time, because there's no argument that sexuality isn't joyful in some way, and in some way she's reveling in the expression of the anger in the same way. And there is joy where there is pain, and there is suffering where there is ecstasy. And she is in the middle of all of it, trying to figure out how to exist in all of these opposing forces.